action tomorrow. So we got to wait one more day for the start of the baseball season, but there's plenty of topics to get to here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. And see how Sixers basically get the short end of the stick as they could have won the game last night. We'll get into more of those details coming up in just a minute. Plus, could the Flyers have some new goaltenders showing up for the team this year? Well, there's a lot of weird stories floating around about not one, but two Russian goaltenders being sent to America. Basically, they're all getting terminated from the KHL. So Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, will join us because the Flyers right now have a very huge goaltending question. Not that that's anything new with the Flyers history, but this is a different kind of question. Usually the question is who should be the starting goaltender. But right now the problem is who is the backup goaltender. And Felix Sandstrom was so bad the other day that John Tortorella walks out of the press conference. He was so angry and upset with Sandstrom and how he performed to the point where 2 days later, Tortorella comes back and says, "My bad, sorry about that." So we'll get all the clarity of the details from Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com in less than 20 minutes from now. Plus, you guys can join the conversation at 609 403 0973. Also, we have your DMs coming to 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. So, there's a lot to work through here. So we got to get to the game last night because I cannot still believe the series of events that led us to what we saw last night. Now, first of all, there was a lot of moments in the game last night that you could have argued could have been called differently by the refs. And I totally get that, and I do not deny that one bit. But there was one thing that was clearly obvious last night. Was at the very, very end of the game, Kelly Oubre drives to the basket, goes up for the layup, gets banged by Kawhi Leonard, falls out of bounds, game over, no foul called, and then everything went nuts. Nick Nurse storms onto the court yelling at the refs. Kelly Oubre calls out each of the refs by a curse word, yells at each one of them, even gives them the middle finger at one point on his way off the court, to the point where Kelly Oubre in the locker room apologized for what he did later. And if that wasn't bad enough, that you have this crazy ending, you had the official NBA announcement that the play that was not called a foul should have been called a foul. And so now we ask the questions we did at 973 ESPN on our Facebook page earlier today. Now knowing that that should have been a foul call and knowing that game should have ended with foul shots and knowing all of this, how are you feeling about this? Because the Sixers are fighting to get out of the play-in tournament, and this game may be part of the reason why you don't get out of the play-in tournament. This one game that you could have won, you should have won, you had a chance to win, and the refs stole it away from you. And look, we'll get to the Embiid news in just a minute. But the NBA has a serious officiating problem, as was brought up to one of our listeners earlier today. Zach was chiming in on the Facebook page, said, there's a huge officiating problem in the NBA. And I know from a sports betting perspective, there's all kinds of minutia with that. But I want to keep it to the basketball for a minute. You right now are 39 and 34. You are a half game behind the Miami Heat. You are 1.5 games behind the Indiana Pacers. That win last night was one of your final chances to make up ground in the postseason. Because if you don't end up in the play-in tournament, you're giving the entire team an entire week to rest. That is going to be a huge opportunity for you. But if you had to play in the play-in tournament, there's two different variables that go into this. Number one, if you're the 7 seed, that means you get the home game in that playoff game, in that play-in tournament game, I should say. And the winner of that game gets to be the number 7 seed. And if the season ended right now, the number 7 team would play the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't know about you guys, but you probably like the idea of going against the Bucks just because it's Doc Rivers on the other side of the court and knowing his postseason struggles over the years. If you lose the first play-in game, if you're the 7 or 8 seed, you got to play for the 8 spot in the postseason against the winner of the 9-10 matchup. So now you are not just risking having to play one game to get into the postseason. Now you got to play 2 games if you lose the initial game, and you're losing more time to get rest. You're potentially losing more opportunities, and you would play the Boston Celtics in the first round. This is not ideal, folks. This is a bad, bad predicament. And if these referees would stop being so incompetent and so bad at their jobs, I mean, how does the NBA walk away from a game like that last night and say, oh, yeah, we should have called a foul on that play? Our bad. Not our bad. No, you should have fixed it at the very end of the game. Somebody in the league office, in the officiating room, should be allowed to buzz down to the referee on the court and say, hey, so-and-so, that was a foul. You got it wrong. It's incorrect. Get them back on the line. Let's end this game right. Because everyone watching the game, except for Jay Williams on ESPN TV, thought that was a foul. And it should have been free throws for Oubre. Because I feel a lot better today knowing that I put the ball in Oubre's hands at least to finish the game than knowing what could have been, what should have been, and now just sitting here shrugging my shoulders like an idiot. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys can tell me at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN. Mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. The other side of the Sixers news last night, Nick Nurse telling the media that Joel Embiid's return is imminent.
I think there's a very good likelihood that he will return before the play-in playoff. Yeah, he's out there working. He's doing lots of skill work and things like that, and just trying to continue to advance all that stuff.
Of course, that came after Adrian Wojnarowski reported earlier in the day that Joel Embiid is going to return, and part of the optimism has to do with the fact that he has been practicing, as Nick Nurse pointed out.
There's a lot of optimism right now around Joel Embiid. I'm told that he is moving well. He has looked good on the court. And again, just a matter of when he makes his return at this point, not if. And the Sixers expect they can get a few games under his belt before they have to start playing playoff games or play-in games.
And about 15 hours after Woj said that on ESPN television, and Nick Nurse said what he said after the Sixers game last night, the 76ers official Twitter account used the meme or the GIF, whatever it is, of Joel Embiid inquisitively eating an apple. Now, this usually is kind of a fun little GIF that people use on social media, but it's got a little more relevance for Embiid because the news came out today that Joel Embiid is going to go with the team on their next road trip. Now, there's no reporting that says he's going to return this weekend. But the fact that he's traveling with the team at least gives you an idea that he is going to be returning very, very soon. Now, the Sixers have beaten the Cavs not once but twice this year without Joel Embiid. So they don't necessarily need him anyway for Friday's game and probably not for Sunday's game. They should, in theory, be able to win both of those games. But they come home against OKC on April 2nd. Oklahoma City is one of the final difficult games on their schedule. Realistically, you look at the Sixers' remaining 9 games. There's really only 3 of those games that are against, actually 4 of those games, I should say. I told it short a little bit. 4 of those games, 4 of the 9 that are against teams that are high caliber enough that could beat you, right? Obviously, the Cavs tomorrow, because the Cavs are a playoff team, and it is in Cleveland. Oklahoma City comes to Philadelphia. The Thunder are one of the best teams in the Western Conference with an MVP candidate on their team in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got to go to Miami next Thursday. Miami Heat obviously fighting with you to try to get a better spot either in the playoffs or the play-in tournament. And then you got Orlando at home on April 12th. Now, the interesting thing about Orlando is right now, the Orlando Magic, before action begins tonight, are 3.5 games ahead of you in the standings. So it's not likely you're going to be able to catch them before the end of the year. But when you do play Orlando in that game, the second last game of the season for the 76ers, will that game mean anything? Seriously. The Orlando Magic could already have their playoff spot locked up. There could be no movement opportunities for them at all. So is that a situation where the Magic don't go into that game full throttle trying to win it, knowing that they already got their game locked up? Now, the Magic have lost 2 games in a row, but they previously won 5 games in a row. So, and you look at their upcoming schedule, they play the Clippers, they play the Pelicans, and they play the surging Houston Rockets team, which is not a playoff team right now, but they could work their way to the postseason. Orlando's got a real tough end of the year. At Milwaukee, at Philadelphia, home against Milwaukee. If Orlando can lock things up before April 10th in terms of their playoff spot, do they hit the cruise control button for the rest of the year? Just some thoughts on the Sixers' upcoming schedule and how Joel Embiid factors into all of it. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Tom from the Villas chimes in and says, it does make me irritated. However, the Sixers should have put themselves in that situation last night to hope for a foul call to get a win. These guys have been playing some good basketball, but collapsing in the fourth quarter since Embiid went down. They need to clean that up. That's from Tom in the Villas. Tom, it's a very good point because it both can be correct. You can simultaneously be very frustrated and very unhappy with the Sixers losing the game the way they did and still be frustrated with them for putting themselves in the position to lose the game. Because as I was talking about last night, while I'm watching the game, I turn and I'm talking to the, I'm watching the game last night and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they've been winning this entire game. They've been winning this entire game and they found a way to lose it and the referees ripped it away from them. And the fact that the national media spent more time talking about James Harden's comments after the game than talking about the Sixers having a chance to win the game and it being ripped away from them, it's insulting. It's a bad job by people in the national media doing that. All right, coming up next, what is going on with the Flyers goaltender situation? Why are there 2 Russian goalies leaving the KHL to try to join the orange and the black? We'll get into that coming up next with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with the Schweiner.
Champion Exteriors. Champion, the one you call first. Voted best of the best in Jersey Shores. For roofing and siding, windows and doors. 24-month financing, no payments, no interest. Your certified GAF elite contractors. Champion Dutch Exteriors.com. Champion Exteriors. Champion, the one you call first.
Save big during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's with limited time deals on everything you need. Right now, buy one select DeWalt 20-volt max tool, get one DeWalt 20-volt max power stack battery 2-pack free, a $179 value. Plus, save $20 on a select bucket of Deck Plus wood screws. Find these deals and more in-store and online today. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 3/18 through 3/29. While supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Device off rents 4/14/24. In-store activation on single silver unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the silver unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
At Target, count on our great deals just in time for Easter. Save $5 when you spend $30 on toys with Target Circle, so you can fill their baskets with fun, like cuddly stuffed animals or 50-piece sidewalk chalk, all from only $5. Add an Easter chocolate faves at BOGO 50% off, from Cadbury to Reese's Mini Eggs and more. And get great family picks with new Easter looks. It's easy with 20% off dresses, polos, and more. Hop in fast for our best Easter deals, only at Target. Restrictions apply.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over. And if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new oil for my truck. Really, I need a new truck.
Mobile One is giving away a 2024 Chevy Colorado ZR2. When you pick up 5 quarts of Mobile One full synthetic with an STP extended life oil filter for $35.99, you're entered for a chance to win.
Whoa.
Other prizes include a year's supply of Mobile One or a $100 gift card.
Never been so excited for an oil change.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
No purchase necessary. Terms at AutoZone.com. Ends 5/27/24.
I feel good.
Dad, are you singing to your cereal?
Yes, I am. Like I knew that I would.
No, a dance too?
Come on, Ava. Silk almond milk starts the morning on a high note. Yeah.
Songs, dances, and dad jokes.
So good. So good. I got you.
Silk almond milk.
With calcium, vitamins A, D, and E.
Feel plenty good.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trademan can get you released. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Harbor Township.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Get back to text board in just a bit. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Speaking of teams in the playoff hunt, Flyers are still fighting for their spot in the playoffs. I think it's officially locked up for them yet. But there's a lot of weird stories going on this week about every Flyer fan's favorite topic, goaltenders. So to give us some clarity about what on earth is going on, I mean literally on earth, because it involves guys coming from Russia to America. Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, joins us. As Kevin, I wish we were just talking about the Flyers playing tonight, but instead we got to decipher all this stuff out there. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Josh?
Doing pretty good. So, all right. So give the audience a quick explanation, because the whole thing started earlier this week with the Instagram post in Russian saying about Kolosov, and then the other goaltender got terminated his contract today. So you have not one but two Russian goaltenders en route to the Flyers system. What on earth is going on?
So the deal with Alexei Kolosov is really not surprising. This was kind of in the works for several weeks. The idea was once his season was over in the KHL, he was preparing to come to North America. And really the only key to this whole thing is that, yes, the social media post from his KHL team went out and the Flyers didn't really have a response. Danny Briere spoke to the media today and did confirm Kolosov is going to come to North America at some point. The timeline is questionable because there's immigration issues, there's visa issues, there's things like that to work out. So the goal is as soon as possible, though, and he is coming at some point. Pump the brakes on the goalie talk with the Flyers for a second with Kolosov, because the plan is he's going to the AHL. So he will not play for the Flyers effective immediately. He would play for the Phantoms first. And who knows, if things go well, the plan was potentially maybe you see him in April. Maybe you see him in a couple of games down the stretch. The team still has 9 to go. They are relatively spaced out. The team's got in April itself a 3-day pause between games, and then 2 between games before the end of the season as well. So there's a chance that was possible. And it would all of it would depend also on how Kolosov responded to coming over to North America. It's a little bit of a different game. The rink dimensions change. Your angles have to change. And he's also just 22. So he's coming off of a professional season in his own right in a different league, and then would come over here and he's getting the professional experience in North America. That was really the entirety of this story, to be honest. There wasn't much more to everything going on at the moment other than that Kolosov is a potential option maybe in April, but the plan was he's going to the Phantoms. And then today comes the news that Ivan Fedotov's contract was terminated in the KHL as well. For folks who may not remember this, because it's definitely kind of been out of sight, out of mind with him for a while. This was the goalie that 2 years ago was preparing to come to North America and basically got thrown into military service in Russia. So he had a contract with the Flyers going back 2 years ago and never got to fulfill it. The Flyers have basically kept pushing that contract along because they still have his rights. There was a whole mess with the IIHF and a bunch of other things with the KHL included, because apparently, before the season, he had basically 2 contracts at one time, and the KHL is pushing on everybody. This is the contract that is the one that needs to be honored. He's playing for us. So the Flyers were kind of, again, left, wondering what's going on with this guy. And for the months that have followed, he's been out of sight, out of mind. You didn't factor him in as the Carter Hart news came into play. Doesn't factor in. It's still Sam Ersson, Felix Sandstrom, Cal Peterson, and kind of the rumblings that Kolosov was the top prospect goalie that was over there and prepared to come over, and there shouldn't be that roadblock. Now, all of a sudden, because the contract is terminated, he's able to honor the Flyers contract. And it seems like the league is going to honor the contract as well. The NHL is going to. So by all accounts, if they can get him over to North America, he'll be able to play for the Flyers as soon as, his arrival, basically. So now that brings a whole lot into play, because it starts to, obviously for tonight's game, they're going status quo. It's still going to be Felix Sandstrom backing up Sam Ersson. But who knows depending on how quickly this thing develops. And the only thing I'm going to pump the brakes on with the Fedotov thing is that there has been no confirmation from the team. Nothing whatsoever. Even Danny Briere earlier today had basically a no comment response to all of it. And it pretty much, ironically enough, as Danny Briere was apparently speaking to the media in Montreal early this afternoon, late this morning, that was about the same time that the story came out about the contract being terminated. So it was basically all happening at the same time. And Briere was probably not in a position to answer any questions on that front at all. So for now, you wait and see what happens. Definitely pump the brakes with Fedotov, considering the fact that everything that happened in his past, obviously, this is a story that has evolved over 2 years. Additionally, kind of pump the brakes with your expectations on Fedotov should he come and play, because there's that same adjustment period for him as well, just at the NHL level instead. And he's had a little bit of time off since playing his last game. Their season ended several weeks ago at this point. So he's had some time off. You've got to factor that in as well. He may not come in and be some miracle worker right away, but it would be a different face. And considering what you've seen from first Cal Peterson and now Felix Sandstrom, everything is worth a shot.
And that's where I was kind of going with this because, Tortorella famously or infamously, depending on who you ask, storms out of the press conference a few days ago. He's so frustrated with Sandstrom. Like he was almost like channeling Flyer fans at that point to the point where Tortorella had to come out. What was it? Tuesday, basically said, "My bad. I'm sorry," which, I had Scott Laughlin from SiriusXM NHL Radio on Tuesday, and he said, "I've never seen Tortorella apologize in my life." Like, the fact that Tortorella comes out and apologizes for that is insane, but it gives you an idea of even people in the Flyers organization are frustrated, which brings us to these Russian goaltenders. The next back-to-back, April 5th, April 6th. So that's next weekend. So are we projecting, Kevin Durso, that it's going to be Sandstrom in one of those games, or is there an outside chance that one of these Russians might be that other face in net for that back-to-back weekend?
So I would say it's a 0% chance it's Kolosov, because I think that's not enough time for him to get over and get acclimated to the AHL. It's just too close. Fedotov, though, I'll give you the outside chance, because it just all depends on how quickly the team confirms this, gets him over here, and we see him. The biggest thing for Flyers fans right now, I think, given the history with Ivan Fedotov and with this story, is probably not going to believe it until you see it kind of material. You see him take the ice in practice at a Flyers facility for, wearing Flyers colors ahead of a game. Then at that point, it becomes real. It becomes he's here, he's participating with the team, he could play in a game. But until that happens, I don't think you want to jump to conclusions. So, for now, continue to assume status quo that Felix Sandstrom is going to continue to back up Sam Ersson. I as much, I was out of town for the last several days, but I did catch Sandstrom's last start and I totally saw everything. I think the whole response from John Tortorella was a little bit in regard to the question in terms of, what do you think? You watched the game. How do you think his performance looked? You can't you can't gloss over 3 goals allowed on 14 shots. There's just no way to gloss that over, and in particular, when 2 of them look like they hit you, one went in off his glove, the other one kind of went under his arm, caught a piece of it, but not enough. That's where you start to draw the line in terms of, listen, you got to stop what's there to be saved, basically. If you get beat by a good power play and it's one-timers that just seem unstoppable for any goalie, then so be it. But it really felt like you could see how this was everything that you worry about with Felix Sandstrom. It was coming to fruition right there. And it creates questions again. So I started wondering kind of the same question everybody else does is, how many starts would you give Sandstrom from here on out in the remaining, at that point it was 10 games, but 9 games, because it was obvious Ersson was getting the Ranger game. And, that obviously that weekend back-to-back is certainly one option to get a backup in. I kind of was curious. Look, maybe as we learn more over the next day or so too, if the Flyers are able to confirm this within 24 hours, then maybe you don't feel as much, maybe as much caution with starting Sam Ersson again on Saturday against Chicago, which would be an opportune time to play a backup, given where Chicago is in the standings. Maybe you don't feel as hesitant to do it when another backup is coming in place sooner rather than later. But if it's just Felix Sandstrom for now, I kind of indicate, or at least my thought process is, he's probably, if they have to ride it out with Sandstrom, he's probably got one more start coming in that weekend back-to-back. And the rest would be completely dependent on how far the team kind of keeps moving this thing forward. Like, for example, you could start Sandstrom in the final game of the season against the Capitals if it means nothing. If you've already locked up a playoff spot, go ahead, start your backup, put Sam Ersson on the bench, give him a break. Playoffs are your next step. But if that game matters, you're going to have to go to Ersson because that's your number one at the moment. So kind of the importance of the final games of the season could indicate this as well. So for now, it's pretty much the Sam Harrison show until we find out what exactly is going on with this backup situation. And otherwise, why would you change anything else? Nobody else has stepped up into this slot and done anything with it. So it's going to be Harrison's show. And the only thing you have to hope for from here with Sam Harrison is watching out for running him into the ground going into the playoffs, because to potentially start him in what would be 9 of the final 10 games of the season, if you include that Ranger game from Tuesday, that's a lot of work going into the playoffs. So look, maybe the hope is you win a bunch of those and you don't need all of the final games. Maybe the last 2 don't hold as much meaning and you can back off on that and give him 1 as a prep period and that's it. Otherwise, you may need him in all of them if that's what it takes to get to the playoffs, because at this point, you're closing in on it. You got 9 games left. You want to finish the job. And if Harrison's going to give you the best opportunity, you may be stuck doing that.
Talk with our Flyers insider from 97.3 ESPN.com, Kevin Durso, here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers are in Montreal tonight to take on the Canadiens. Puck drops after 7 p.m. Kevin, I wanted to ask you as well, because there's another side of this conversation, which is, what is the NHL rule when it comes to guys being available for the postseason? Because, you have the Flyer fan out there and say, well, okay, I understand Sandstrom might have to play 1 or 2 more games for the end of the season, but is there a possibility you could bring somebody up for the postseason? Like, for example, in baseball, they have the rule that you have to be on the active roster before the postseason to be available for the postseason roster, or, in the NFL, you have to be on the roster a certain amount of time for the postseason. So does the NHL have a similar rule?
Not really. And the best example that I can give to kind of make it easy for people is, years back when Cale Makar prepared to debut for the Colorado Avalanche, he was coming out of college. He joined the team right in the middle of the playoffs. So he wasn't on the roster, obviously. Prior to that, he had signed and was part of the roster and got to play in the playoffs, scored his first goal in the playoffs, technically. So there's really no restriction here. If they make one of these guys available, as long as they are signed, I guess the point is that as long as they are property of the organization, that the organization has their rights going into the postseason, that's when, I don't think you can just bring in a guy who you didn't have his rights prior. But that's how it worked with Makar. Makar was drafted by the Avalanche, obviously. So when he was ready to sign, he signed his entry-level deal. He gets to play. The Flyers have had Fedotov's rights all year. It's just a matter of, him being available to play. So if they bring Fedotov in, he'd be eligible for the playoffs. Same with Kolosov. Kolosov has been signed to his entry-level deal, so it's just a matter of getting him here. So there's no real restriction here. Those guys their rights are under the property of the Flyers at this point, and if they want to keep one of them for the playoffs, they're able to do that. Absolutely.
All right, so moving forward here, obviously this Flyers survived their gauntlet of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got the 1 point against the Rangers. They got the surprising wins against Boston and Toronto. I think a lot of people didn't expect the 1 point from Carolina. So they've been able to maintain, but that Washington Capitals team was a seller at the deadline. They are right on your heels. So looking down the stretch here, what is your take on the Flyers look, I think they're a playoff team, but that Caps team is literally 1 point behind you.
Yeah, so the key to this final stretch here is the schedules, because the Flyers are going to have a much more favorable schedule from here, on paper anyway, than certainly the Washington Capitals. Tonight's a perfect example of this too. As you look around the rest of the teams that are even just within striking distance, and it may even be extreme to call some of this striking distance. Like the Islanders are 7 points behind the Flyers, and they play the Panthers tonight, and that's a tough matchup for them. I don't know if 7 points is going to strike fear into Flyers fans right now, quite like 1 and 3 that Washington and Detroit have. The Capitals are playing Toronto tonight, and Detroit's playing Carolina, while the Flyers get a team like the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens are out of it at this point. They are not making the playoffs. So at this point, their only role is to play spoiler. Meanwhile, you've got those other 2 teams that are also fighting for playoff spots that are facing teams that are pretty well locked into the playoffs. So they're kind of going to start going through some of those same teams that were on the gauntlet the Flyers just played and have to find a way to maintain the points as well, just like the Flyers did throughout the course of it. While the Flyers get to play Montreal tonight, Chicago on Saturday, The Islanders, as they're falling out of it on Monday, Buffalo, Columbus, Montreal again. Like, these are teams that have nothing left to play for anymore, just about, except for pride and to spoil some other teams' playoff pushes. So my mindset would be take care of your own business. You'll hold the playoff spot. It's easier said than done. Kind of ironically, when I was out of town the last couple of days, I was in Denver, went to the Colorado Avalanche game against tonight's opponent, the Montreal Canadiens, and watched the Canadiens take down a team that had won 9 straight games 2-1. So it can be done by the Montreal Canadiens, no question. And I watched them specifically take away the neutral zone, take away the ability to rush in transition, clog up shooting lanes, really take away a lot of what provides offense from a heavy, potent offense that Colorado has. So the Flyers are going to have to find a way in this game to kind of beat a team that has a nose for it, that has the ability to play a hard playoff style game in their own right. And you can't take that for granted. You can't just look at the schedule now that the gauntlet's over and say, oh, it's Montreal, it's Chicago, and avoid that. That's exactly how you fall into the trap that is a typical trap game. So it's up to them at this point to maintain their own business and see how everything else may take care of itself if Washington's just not able to beat teams like Toronto, like they have tonight, or if Detroit's not able to beat teams like Carolina, then that's where that comes into play.
Kevin, before I let you go, I see the update from the Flyers for the game tonight. Noah Cates unavailable for personal reasons. Cam Atkinson back in the lineup. So a little more shuffling. One guy in, one guy out the lineup, like we've seen pretty much the entire season, it feels like. So, but obviously Atkinson is a veteran that a lot of people, they know who he is. He's a known commodity. And Noah Cates has been a real stabilizing force for a lot of these lines this year. So, what is your perspective on that situation?
Well, it's definitely unfortunate that you lose Cates for a game. He's definitely been reliable from the defensive side of things. I suppose that if there's a time to lose a player for any period of time, not that Cates is going to be out long term. Obviously, it's a personal matter, and probably means he'll play on Saturday if it's all resolved. Obviously, but you don't like to lose the defensive stability at any point. I think because it applies to every game. There may be games where if you lose a guy who's got some offensive firepower, take when the Flyers didn't have Travis Konechny for a few games, you might still be able to win a game without a Travis Konechny in the lineup because you find a way to score more than the other team does. That might work out for you, but you do want to prevent as much as possible. And a guy who's as consistent as Cates has been defensively certainly helps. It is an opportunity for Cam Atkinson, though. I mean, it's been a while since Cam Atkinson played. He's been sitting in that healthy scratch position for a good amount of time at this point. And this is the opportunity. And John Tortorella talks frequently about his professionalism, that he's a consummate pro who continues to work hard, continues to wait his turn for that opportunity to come back. Well, here it is, and it's in different circumstances than anticipated. It's not like he just got inserted back into the lineup because the coach is saying you're one of the best 20 to play tonight. It's someone's not available, but that's the opportunity sometimes that guys need to run with and to be able to take advantage of. So hopefully Atkinson can play a factor. It's not like he's going to be on a line that's kind of known for its checking or anything like that. He'll play with Sean Couturier and Ula Lixel, who, those two together kind of had put it together a little bit in the last handful of games to enable, in the ability to generate some opportunities and kind of bring a little bit more offensive pressure in addition to being much more stable defensively. Hopefully that carries over into this game, and Atkinson, maybe Atkinson brings an offensive element to it that will allow them to produce, and that could be a big help as well, especially since they are, for all intents and purposes, there's not really a 1 through 4 classification when it comes to the forward lines, but this is for all intents and purposes your fourth line. And, if you can get a goal from your fourth line on occasion, it can be really big for you. So hopefully the Flyers take advantage of that and can see where this thing can go and can start this final 9, especially with how many games they have against non-playoff teams, can start it off on the right note and kind of maybe get some breathing room again with some help from the scoreboard tonight as well. They've been getting tons of help from the scoreboard over the last several weeks. Now is the time that if they could really get some help, they can also take care of their own business against teams that they should be able to manage. And that could create some separation and set them up nicely for a potential playoff run.
He's Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, 973 ESPN.com, with all the Flyers coverage you need at Kevin_Durso on the Twitter X platform. Flyers, Canadiens tonight, puck drops after 7 p.m. Kevin, appreciate you jumping on today.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
And of course, you can hear the Flyers game over on our sister station, Rock 104.1, or listen on the Rock 104.1 app. We will have the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM and on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Back to text board on the other side, 609-403-0973. Our question earlier today, Tom from the Villas was one of the people who chimed in on it. We also had Mike O chime in on the Facebook page as well. But our question was, knowing that the NBA has admitted that the foul should have been called on Kelly Oubre last night, the end of the game, the non-foul call that caused Nick Nurse and Kelly Oubre to lose their minds, the NBA has admitted it now. How are you feeling after the loss last night? Because that game last night could have been won, and it could have helped you short and long term in the standings. That game was ripped away from you. Are you feeling like, hey, that one foul call should not have changed the outcome of the game because we should have won the game? Or are you the type of person who says the NBA gave us the short end of the stick? We'll check out your guys' messages coming up next. 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday night.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small. Can't wake up without it. Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the Trade Man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax, so you get more dough for your ride. Brand new Sentra for just $199 per month lease with zero security deposit. Only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Or drive home with zero down and zero interest for 72 months. Plus, current Nissan owners get $1,000 owner loyalty cash back on every clearly marked new Nissan in stock. Have a job clearing $450 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at Matt Blatt Nissan.com. Wait, qualifications exist with approved credits. $1,389 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Sentra VIN RY 201059. Lease selling price $24,579. Expires 4/6/24. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Harbor Township.
I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been using deodorant on my armpits for 30 years, and anytime I noticed odor anywhere else, I thought I needed another shower, I wasn't clean, or I felt like there was something wrong with me. And then my gynecologist told me about Lumi. It's a whole body deodorant for pits, feet, and privates that controls odor anywhere and everywhere on your body. Since Lumi, I never have to worry about body odor ever again, anywhere on my body. And that reassurance is worth every penny.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 300 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 300. LUME deodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I am so sure you're going to love it. Or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. LUME deodorant.com, code 300.
Dog parents are loving Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend Premium Dog Food.
The way she acts and the way she moves, it's just so much better. And she's like a puppy again. It's unbelievable.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is a freeze-dried raw food made with 0 artificial preservatives, so it's naturally shelf-stable with no mess, freezer, or fridge required. Plus, it's full of premium turkey, beef, salmon, and meat your dog will love.
We started with Nature's Blend. She's happy, she sleeps well, she's energetic. I am just delighted with this product.
When given the choice, Nature's Blend and Amazon's #1 bestseller in dry dog food, 29 out of 30 dogs chose Nature's Blend first.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of delicious beef liver treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available Available upon request.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ziprecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
A healthy weight, more energy, and smooth, regular bowel movements. 3 things everyone strives for.
It's me, Chuck Norris. There's one really important thing we don't talk about enough: our health. Achy joints, digestive issues, weight gain, and fatigue. We're told these are normal signs of aging. So working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick.
Morning Kick is a revolutionary formula combining 10 different supplements in one. Probiotics that help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and several of the most powerful anti-aging supplements on earth. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, focused, and help manage stress.
Anybody can achieve great health regardless of their age.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com. Use code SUPPORT or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off today.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Now during Staples Print Pig Sale, get $20 off your print purchase of $100 or more, $50 off your print purchase of $200 or more, and $100 off your print purchase of $300 or more. So the more you print at Staples, the more you save. To demonstrate, print at Staples, you save. But if you print at Staples, you save. See how that works? Staples Print Big Sale. Print more, save more. Up to $100. Ends 4/6. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Oh, I cracked the hull of my new ski boat today.
Why'd you do that?
It's not like I was trying to do it, you know.
Sorry, that's rough. My bad, bro. Did anyone witness this?
Yes, there's videos galore, and now I'm a meme.
Accidents don't just happen in sea shanties, so Progressive Boat Insurance has you covered. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you can save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms and not available for all boats or in all situations.
At Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic. Every basket, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. Whether it's a three-pointer at the buzzer to tie the game, or a player goes 2 for 2 at the foul line. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, must be present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Check back in on text board just a moment at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. You know, there's so much going on. You know, the Flyers and the Sixers are both in a playoff hunt. In Phillies, they're going to be back tomorrow. And of course, don't forget the Phillies watch party will be tomorrow with Mike Gill and the Sports Bash live at Maynard's in Margate. If you're a qualifier for the Phillies contest, you must be present tomorrow in order to win the trip to Baltimore. If you did not qualify for the Phillies contest, you have a chance to win other prizes like tickets to concerts that you can only get it, but you must be present at Maynard's in Margate tomorrow for the Phillies watch party. Of course, the Sports Bash is live 2 to 6 p.m. And of course, the Phillies first pitch is after 3 p.m. So you don't miss out on, listen, it's a perfect storm for Mike Gill because it's happy hour Friday. It's opening day of the Phillies season. It's a watch party. It's at Maynard's. I mean, it's a day made for Mike Gill. So, you know what? Go have fun with Mike tomorrow. That's all I got to say. You won't regret it. Trust me. Maynard's also a great spot to always go to as well. is one of my faves as well. But back to the text board, 609-403-0973. We asked earlier, it was our question of the day at 973 ESPN on the Facebook page. And I also brought it here to game night, which was knowing now the NBA has admitted, the referees admitted, and the NBA confirmed that there should have been a foul called on Kawhi Leonard against Kelly Oubre at the end of the game. They would have just called the foul. There wouldn't have been Nick Nurse and Kelly Oubre losing their minds and Kelly Oubre having to apologize after the game for what he said. And you would have had a chance to win the game with Kelly Oubre on the line. Does it make you feel any different today about last night's game? Mike and Maramora chimes in and says, Josh, it's frustrating anytime a call dictates a game, but the game is made up of hundreds of moments. There are other moments you could point to that carry just as much weight. Just handle your business and move on. That's from Mike and Maramora. And I feel like Mike and Maramora and Tom and the Villas both are kind of saying the same deal, which is, sure, it's frustrating, but there were other moments in the game that the Sixers let slip away that put them in this predicament in the first place. So I totally get where you guys are coming from. I just feel like if you're the NBA, you got to grow up, you got to man up, and you got to stop having this passiveness, this indifference, or this laissez-faire attitude when it comes to officiating. Officiating in the NBA has deteriorated. And instead of putting safeguards in place to allow you to not have these situations happen. Like, look at the NFL. The NFL is constantly tweaking the replay process. The NFL is constantly creating situations and scenarios and opportunities. I turn around and I see what exactly? Oh, right. I see the NBA not being proactive. I'm a big fan of being proactive, not reactive. But for some reason, some of these sports or leagues like to be reactive and like to be a bunch of children. So it's frustrating. I think that's what bothers me more than anything else. Because what if it's a playoff game and this happens? Then what do you do? Seriously, what do you do? If this was a playoff game last night, if this was the NBA Finals, the officials got the call wrong, and then after the game, the NBA admits we got the call wrong. Is the NBA going to replay the game? Replay the final second of the game? These are questions we don't have answers to. It's very, very frustrating. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on one more sports-related story when it comes to Philadelphia sports, and that is Phillies opening day is tomorrow. And I don't want to overlook it because this will be the last time I can talk about the Phillies before the season starts. Because tomorrow is literally, by the time we come on with game night tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN, the Phillies game will either be ending or at that point over for the first game of the year. I want to go on record one more time and state that I think this Phillies team is going to have a special season. I don't think it is any small point to drive home that this team is coming into the year healthy, prepared, and focused. And I know for some of you out there, you know that Phillies history is full of slow starts. So maybe not necessarily going to get your hopes up, right? But this team will definitely be better than 15-15 through the first 30 games of the year compared to last year. This team will definitely have a better start to the year than the 2007 and 2008 Phillies, which both years they started sluggish as well. I think this is going to be a fun summer. I hope you all are ready for it because this organization has a group of players who seem very focused. And as long as guys stay healthy, I think this is a 95 to 100 win baseball team. And when was the last time to see that firmly the Phillies? It's been over a decade. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great everybody.
Are you already doing digital advertising sales? Do you know all about targeted display, social media marketing, the latest in SEM and behavioral targeting? If so, you could be Town Square Media's new advertising sales star. We're looking for passionate sales professionals to join our media and digital advertising team. If consulting and connecting local businesses with their ideal audience for growth sounds exciting, let's have a conversation about you working for Town Square Media. The right career choice is all about timing, and right now is the perfect time to join our team as an advertising account executive. Our comp package is amazing with unlimited earning potential, including base salary, 401k match, and more, along with world-class training and plenty of room for growth. If you're competitive, driven, and have the ability to communicate great ideas, we want to hear from you. Reach out to Michael Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249 or visit careers.townsquaremedia.com. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.